Alright guys, welcome back. Today we're talking about screen printing, especially how to burn these curved screens, okay? So, screen printing is screen printing, man. Doesn't matter if you're doing posters, t-shirts, skateboards, it's all using light sensitive emulsion, okay? So there's no, I guess you can say, difference in burning a regular screen as compared to a curved screen. Okay. The one thing about burning a screen is that you want to make sure that you don't have, you see right here, have a little gap. You want to make sure that your transparency is on tight to the mesh itself. Okay. You don't want any little gaps where light can escape. The more light that escapes, the harder it is for images to burn, especially if you guys have like a lot of fine detail. This probably wouldn't be as bad because it's thick ink, but it was, this was like a thinner lines with a lot of detail. It'll be really hard to burn this. The old school method, what the old school guys used to do, was they would get a tub and they would take their transparencies and they would soak them in mineral spirits. So when you took it out of the mineral spirits, with transparencies you have a sticky side and a non-sticky side. With the mineral spirits, what it allowed the transparency to do was to get like really sticky, and it would create like a suction on your mesh. So after you soaked, you would put this on your mesh, and you would take a squeegee and you would squeegee out the air bubbles. And this thing would stay on here. It would be stuck on here for about 5-6 minutes. The problem is that a lot of us have DIY exposure units. Like me, I've got two 500 watt halogen work lights that I use to burn all of my screens. It doesn't matter if I'm printing shirts or skateboards. It's like I said, it's the same thing. I use the same exposure unit. But with the type of exposure unit I have, and I use a dual cure emulsion because of course when you screen printing skateboards and stuff, it's more like acrylic water base. And for t-shirts I use plastisol. So with that type of emulsion plus the type of exposure unit I use, it takes me 7 minutes to expose these screens. So with the mineral spirit method, like I said, you get about good 5-6 minutes at the most. So after that, I would have a minute to where this could start lifting up, and I wouldn't get a really good burn on that screen. Okay, like I said, that's the really old school method. And I understand why a lot of the old school printers kept this stuff like this a secret, man, because you don't want your competition, you don't want to give your competition the one up. You find a way of burning a skateboard from nose to tail, and you figured out a way how to burn the screen that nobody else knows. Like, you wouldn't give up that secret either. So, but anyway, like I said, the mineral spirits method doesn't work for me just because of my exposure time. But this is how I burn these screens. Okay, so let's just say this is a full image here. You can tell I don't have emulsion on my screen because I'm videotaping. I don't want the light, I don't want to waste a lot of emulsion. Have to clean this off and coat it again. So let's just pretend we're good to go here. I've got emulsion, so we'll even pretend. So I'll flip my image over. Okay, line my image up, So this is how I burn mine, okay? So it's as simple as plexiglass, right? This sheet of plexiglass cost me, I think it was like $46 at Home Depot. A little pricey, but I'm gonna need it if I'm gonna do stuff like this. Some cheap Harbor Freight clamps. I think these were like $4 each, $3.90 something, $4. So what I'm gonna start doing is I'm gonna start clamping the plexiglass to my screen, okay? And I always start in the dips of the screen, okay? Opposite sides. Clamp my ends here. Okay, so this last clamp, this is what I do for this last one, okay? Take my heat gun, and I'm gonna heat my plexiglass up, okay? Don't do what I did. I heated up just a little bit too much. But you want it pliable. You want it when you heat up plexiglass, it's gonna kind of, you know, it's gonna get like melty kind of, okay? Because if I didn't do this to this plexiglass and I tried to throw this last clamp on here, it's gonna split this, okay? It's an expensive sheet of plexiglass, so I don't feel like buying another one. But like I said, this is a one-time thing. I only have to do this once, and I actually marked my plexiglass and marked the screen where I'm gonna put it down on. So like I said, real quick, heat this up. Be careful if you're not wearing gloves, because this stuff gets really hot. It can burn your hands. And once it's a little loose, I'll put my last screen on here. Okay. If you notice, when I put my hands underneath here, there's not a gap between my image and my mesh. With this right here, on all four corners, and right here, it's actually pushing the transparency into the mesh. So if I was to burn it, let's say, like I said, my exposure unit is 7 minutes. After that, you know, we rinse it out and take a look at it to make sure, you know, everything burned right. This fits all of my curved screens because I make all of the curved screens the same. So, you know, it's a one-time purchase. So, man, I don't know, dude. Any questions you guys have, feel free to hit me up. I'll try to answer them as quick as possible. But next couple of weeks, I just got to figure out a cool little image or a cool graphic to do, and I'll actually go through the whole burning process, and you know, I'll do it I got a bunch of decks that I resand and stuff like that to practice on. So I'll show you guys how this actually works once it's you know, in the press and stuff like that. So like I said, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up. You know, please like and subscribe and help the channel grow. Until next time. So here's my setup. Like I said, man, it's just 2 halogen 500 watt bulbs. Burning this image right now. Let me show you how it turns out. So just to show you guys that this technique does work to burn these curved screens.